Yo, what's good? It's Skano from the gutter. So, I read some data that disclosed since George Floyd's killing, his murder, actually, cop killings have went up every year, and a disproportionate amount of those killings have been committed against black folks. This guy, Rodney Hinton Jr., from I believe Columbus or Cincinnati, is from Ohio, the one who ran down the deputy sheriff after his son was shot and killed, fleeing police, jumped out the car, running. And as usual, they tried to say he had a gun, he was aiming a gun, but video footage disproved that. He was shot down like a dog. And this guy's attorney, Rodney Hinton Jr., his attorney is saying that his client was, insane at that time, that he ran over the deputy sheriff. And this was in retaliation of his son being shot and killed by police. And I'm going to have to say, while a lot of people are saying, par for the course, I mean, you as a parent, nothing can be more heartbreaking than losing a child. And your child being, murdered, essentially. Because I've seen a lot of cases where white people are, shooting at cops, running over cops, but they are not shot. They are arrested alive. But we understand how things work in this country. So like I was saying, as a parent, yeah, I think I would click out too, I'm not gonna lie. So I'm gonna buy that. The insanitary, the insanity plea that Hinton Jr. is going with. So ever since this dude took office, Trump, and I said when he issued out this, he made a declaration that he was going to give police, basically a free pass. You know what I'm saying? They were going to have, I knew killings was going to increase, man. When he pretty much just, like I said, gave him the green card to do whatever out here, And it seems to me that all the criminality and corruption is occurring in the White House, these politicians, and the police forces. So he's just giving them a free pass to, basically murder black folks. Anyone, actually, but, obviously understanding how things work in this country. Woo woo. But come to find out, so, this government shutdown, they have passed a deal. The senators and congressmen of this country who laid off 300,000 black women, they laid off, black women got laid off left and right over the last few months, but these greedy ass politicians did a backdoor deal. They will receive $500,000 apiece for ending this government shutdown. That's the deal that they've come up with, So we talk about lawlessness, man. It all starts in the White House, So I think what he wants to do is, incite a riot. I'm talking about, countrywide, so he can issue martial law, Trump, and have an excuse to prolong his term. You know what I'm saying? But this dude has done nothing but run this country in the ground, and in the whole time lining his pockets. But these cop killings, man, shit is, it's way out of hand. And this is just, what can be proven. Because how many times, over the course of a year, this is before, the, officer video cam and just surveillance in general has become so, prevalent. How many free kills they have gotten, especially committed against black folks in this country. And like I said, ever since he took office, It's just turned up. Cops killing people left and right, especially black people. And what's crazy what's going on in Chicago, these ICE agents who are, you know, running amok. So you talk about, inner city criminality. These ICE agents ain't nothing more than gangsters, with uniforms, the same as these cops, criminals with badges and uniforms. And it's crazy that they going upside Latinos' heads in Chicago. And a lot of these ICE agents are Latinos. They got Latinos just, I'm talking about the ICE agents, beating the hell out of Latinos and, rounding them up, shipping them out. It's like, wow, that's dastardly right there, So your own people, and what's the payoff? It can't be that salary alone. Is that worth selling your own people out? Like this Atlanta cop who shot a black Atlanta cop who was off duty. There was some disagreement or some type of disturbance at a club or something. And somebody called this off-duty cop. He shows up. They claim this dude, a black dude, had a gun. First they said he had a knife. Then they said, because he was trying to leave and go back into the club. He said what he had to say. He was trying to leave this scene. And not running, but just like, I'm done with it. I'm shot in the back 17 times. 17 times by this off-duty cop. So nothing but criminals, man. And the police force, these ICE agents, damn sure in the White House. None but criminals. Fleecing the hell out of us. Like I said, you can't trust none of these. I don't give a damn if they Republican, Democrat, And like I said, 300,000 black women laid off in less than 3 or 4 months. And they claim, it was because of the DEI purge. That's mainly, understand that this was systematic and it was intentional. They intentionally targeted black women for, and I believe, you say why, if you understand that, black women make up a majority of, the education, these HUD-funded programs, like nonprofit organizations that are funded by HUD, so they wanted to destabilize, because black women been on a come up, for the past decade or more. And I think it was intentional, no doubt, man, just to destabilize, black women in this country, because, that's the American way. They don't want black people to prosper in this country. I'm talking about the government, and, the white power construct. So they done undermined all the progress that black women have been making in this country over the past decade, just flushing it down the toilet, But y'all can't afford to pay federal workers. Y'all can lay off all these black women, you know what I'm saying? But you got these congressmen taking backdoor deals, getting their pockets lined. Y'all shipping millions and millions, billions actually, Argentina, Israel. Understand our government is sold out to Israel. The Black Caucus too. They all work for Israel, man. That's why they have done nothing or said nothing about what's going on in Gaza. Because they have sold out to Israel. So if you think that's cap, research it. So as soon as Trump got in office, man, he started, his connections, making connections with these foreign political leaders, cartel leaders too. While they talking about Venezuela as a threat to, democratic freedom and all this bullshit, it's always a hidden agenda. And this dude is doing nothing but enriching himself. Imagine that. They talking about, they holding up these SNAP benefits, You know what I'm saying? Got the government shut down, laying off all these federal workers. But meanwhile, these congressmen getting paid off to end the shutdown, man. So, you can blame whoever, Republicans, Democrats. To me, at this point, they all the same to me. You know, they all some damn crooks, you know. And we gonna pay the price. I'm talking about this $500,000 apiece that these congressmen and senators trust and believe is gonna come out of American taxpayers' pockets. You know, so like I said before, man, this is nothing but a siphon. You know, they siphon all the money from the working class, you know, and the poor up top. You know, they gonna bleed us dry, man. You know what I'm saying? So, I think they need to just clean house, all of them. You know, they should not be able to sit up and these senators and congressmen that have lifetime positions, man. You know, where they making millions upon millions of, and they policies, they steadily trying to squeeze the working class. You know, like I bleed us dry. You know, there should be a time limit on these, you know, these positions. Nobody should be able to sit up 10, 20 years. Nothing changes, you know, not for the common folk. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I said this construct cannot last. Not just the racism, you know, and the marginalization of certain classes, certain races, but the fact that these greedy ass corrupt politicians bleeding us for everything we got, raising the cost of food, the cost of housing, pay wages stagnant, you know, these corporate, they work hand in hand with the corporate. They just want to bleed us dry and make themselves rich, man. And it's not sustainable. So at some point, it's going to be anarchy in this country, man. You know, because once people already realizing the American dream is really an illusion. And once people get fed up to the point when you just have no hope, they want you to work till you die. They're going to raise a Social Security benefit. They're going to make you have to work till you're 80, you know, to get Social Security. Shit crazy, man. No ops left Scano.